Hello everybody, this is Wisdom Hunter with another video for solo D&D RPG on Roll20. This is when you have to play an adventure all by yourself, solo. A D&D adventure, a role-playing game on Roll20. I'm going to show you some tricks and some things that I do to make it happen. So I have a series of videos that I'm putting together, and at the end I'm going to be going through some actual gameplay to see how it all comes together. This particular video is on advantage and disadvantage. Now for me, when you have advantage in 5e, D&D 5e, you roll 2 d20s, you take the higher one. But I really like to do different types of advantage, different levels of advantage, so you can tweak it around a little bit more. So I'm going to show you how to do that very easily in Roll20. I think that simple rule was chosen for rolling 2 d20s because it was simple. But what it really comes out to is it really actually gives you a minus 4.5 per roll. And to have a straight advantage of a 4.5 or a straight disadvantage of a minus 4.5 is really kind of too big. There has to be some more subtlety in the numbers. So I'm going to show you what I do. Okay, let's go to the macro that I use in Roll20 so you can see where I'm going with this. Okay, so here you see on the left the macro for advantages, and on the right the macro for disadvantages. So basically there's going to be 6 levels of advantage and 6 levels of disadvantage. And you'll see in the macros here that advantage 1 is just adding on a 1d2. You'll either get a +1 or a +2. That's the first step in advantage. Then you have advantage 2 is where you're actually rolling a 1d4 and adding that onto your roll. Advantage 3, you use a 1d6. Advantage 4, you'll use a 1d8. Advantage 5, a 1d10. Advantage 6, a 1d12. So as you'll see, you're basically, whatever your advantage is, it's double. And that's what the dice you're going to use. So advantage 3, you're going to be using a d6. So it's going to give you an idea of what die you're actually going to be rolling. So in my experience, this is a really fun and quick way to do advantages. So before, in the solo role play, if I know I have some sort of advantage, I can sit in my mind, what level of advantage would I have in this situation? So I'm going to show you in Roll20 how I do this. Let's go. Okay. So here we are in Roll20, and I have it set up. So I have down below, I have my little plaques to let me know what's going on in the game, what the JDC, the Journey DC is. You'll see another video on that. And the weather conditions, how tough they are. These are medium conditions. That helps me determine exhaustion levels for the PCs. And if there's any disease or poison going on, I'll have a little plaque to let me know that one of the PCs has a disease or a poison. And so we're going to do a roll. And we're going to choose advantage. So let me show you, let me bring up the macros for advantage and disadvantage. Okay, so here we have it. So let's say we're going to be doing a roll. So let's start off with an endurance check against exhaustion. And so we'll do a check. We'll see that the endurance check came out 13. Now let's say that there's a bit of advantage because of some healing potion or because of some treatment or a medicine check or whatever. The player gets a little bit of advantage. So I'll say, okay, the default advantage is 2. So we'll do a level 2 for advantage. So you're going to see what it looks like now. So I already have it in my mind that I'm going to be choosing the number for advantage 2. So this is what comes out. A list of all the advantages. And I've already chosen 2, and it's a +1. So now that endurance check goes from a 13 to a 14. And you'll see that there's kind of a progression here. In this particular instance, there's a nice progression from 1s to 3 to 4 to 6 to 10. So it kind of goes up with the advantages. But if I click it on again, you'll see that advantage 1 actually beats advantage 4 and advantage 5. But you have to choose your level of advantage before you actually roll for advantages. And it's going to be the same thing for disadvantages. Let's say that you're taking on a fight and you're going to be you're a ranger and you're going to be doing a ranged weapon attack. And let's say you're at an elevation and you got a couple of advantages, but let's say the enemy has a couple of advantages. Let's say it balances out to where you actually have advantage 3 on your shot. We're going to say, okay, you have advantage 3 because of the distance, the position, the cover, whatever. Element of surprise. There's certain elements that go into determine what your advantage is. So let's say that the ranger is going to get advantage 3 on this hit. So we do a test macro. +6. So whatever ranged attack that ranger did is now going to receive a +6 because it was done at advantage 3. And so the same thing would work for disadvantages. If you have to do disadvantages, you test the macro like this, you're going to see a level of disadvantage using 1d2s, 1d4s, 1d6s, all the way up to a 1d12. And then whatever you have in mind before you actually roll for disadvantage, that's the number you have to take. Even though numbers around that might even be better, you might have the worst number, but hey, that's the number you chose before you rolled for disadvantage. So that is basically how advantage and disadvantage works. It's really, really fast. You do a roll, and then roll your advantage or your disadvantage, add it on, and then see what you do against that DC or AC. All right, that'll do it for this video on advantages and disadvantages. This is Wisdom Hunter, and remember, the person who enjoys the game the most wins.